Hello and welcome back to another episode of Inside the Tank with your host, Tyler Rains. Now, over the last week or so, I've kind of alluded to on my Twitter account that Inside the Tank is going to be following a new format. So I just want to talk a little bit about that before we start getting into the episode here. So as you can see, we have a new bit of a new background as well. Our sponsor, CW Sports Memorabilia, awesome partners as always. Definitely go check them out. So we have their logo up, we've got the podcast logo up, and, a bit of a scenery change. But that's not the only thing that's going to be changing. Now, we're used to doing the once-a-week upload on either Tuesdays or Wednesdays, and that's actually going to change now. So I decided instead of doing once a week, we're going to expand to 2 episodes. The first episode is going to be on Friday mornings, which is pre-game on game days. And the second episode is going to be post-game on Sunday nights. So that's when the second episode is going to be uploaded. So I figured that it's going to be a better way to get content out to you. And it's going to be more of a chance to talk about the team on, a multi-episode basis during the week. So it's more of a recap after every single game rather than, just the traditional, we'll talk about all the games in one week. So I wanted to get that out of the way first. But I wanted to make sure that I'm getting the most amount of information out to you guys and that, you're enjoying the content that I put out and talking about this team on, the team that we know and love. So with that being said, let's get into a little bit about this episode, which was the Family Day game. And, Family Day games have historically been some of the most enjoyable to cover, right? You had that big Family Day game in 2018-19 against the London Knights, which was a huge win. And this goes back quite a few years, right? Family Day is supposed to be a day where you're celebrating with your family and, being around them, making sure that you're spending time with them. So what better way to do that than at the Steelheads game this past Monday? Now, here's the thing. It was a great game, but the score wasn't there. So, first off, it was against the Saginaw Spirit. Now, the whole marketing of this game was the Misa brothers, right? Luke Misa, who plays for the Steelheads, and Michael Misa, who is last year granted exceptional status by the CHL, who is playing for the Saginaw Spirit. Now, all of the marketing that was leading up to this game was done, basically saying that, it's Family Day. It's, hockey families. These two brothers are going to be facing off against each other, right? Unfortunately, that was not the case because we found out on game day, possibly Spirit fans knew a little bit earlier, but at least I found out on game day that Michael Misa would not be playing as he was injured. So that was a little bit unfortunate. I was really looking forward to seeing the Misa brothers in quite an amazing game. But, again, such was not the case. And that it sucks because obviously you want to see games like that, especially on a big day when, it could be a legendary battle between two brothers, right? Everybody likes to see it for the storyline purposes, but regardless, everybody's here. It's a great game. It's a great day for hockey, and it's a great day to go see a game with your family. So Michael Misa isn't playing, but nonetheless, the game goes on. So most of the first period was completely scoreless. It looked like both teams had an equal shot at each other, and for the most part, it looked like the Steelheads were out muscling the Spirit until probably about 5 minutes left in the first period. The Spirit get on the board first. Parker Von Richter goes to check the puck off of Dean Lucas. It was picked up by Matthias Sapovalev, walks in, and makes it look like nothing. Now, why is this a bad thing? Because if you look at the screenshot here, this was the play. As you see, Von Richter's down on the boards, checking his man, and there's Dylan Gordon right in the center. You see what's wrong here? If you're a defender, you're supposed to defend, right? But that's what happened, right? That first goal was just out of position. Defense out of position. And we've been seeing that a lot recently especially with the last couple of games, I would say, where you see the opposing team coming in and the Steelheads defenders are out of position, whether it's, far into the corner, right at center and couldn't get to it in time, or they're too close in front of the net. That's what we've been seeing. And unfortunately, that was the case. Matthias Sapovalov gets on the board for the Spirit first. 1-0 after 1. So I was sitting there and thinking to myself, you know what? This is either going to be one of two ways for this team. It's either going to be that they're going to come back and it's going to be a heroic tail of the tape style game that's going to go on and go down in history as one of their best. Or they're going to fight hard, but they're not going to be able to do it. Unfortunately, it was the second option. They fought hard, but they just could not get the result. So second period starts. They go on the power play. The Steelheads go on the power play. Kasper Larsson feeds it to Charlie Callahan, sets up Angus McDonnell, and wham! What a laser as he snipes it past Andrew Oak. And if you haven't seen the highlights of this game, go check them out because he just unleashed the howitzer on that shot. It was probably the nicest goal that I've seen him score through his career so far. Now, despite the fact that that was a well-placed shot, again, that theme of the defenders were out of position on Saginaw's spot too. They left him open. They gave McDonnell too much space. They allowed Larson to cross-crease pass it, and that's what happened, right? Defensemen have the toughest time, I think, aside from goalies being in the game, because they have to stay in position in order to stop the plays from happening, right? But that's a textbook case of you gave them too much space. Callahan just rifled it off to McDonnell. He put it in the back of the net, tied 1-1. Okay, that's not bad. Early in the third, early in the third, Chaz Sharp, who just came back to the lineup, mind you, after being injured for a little while, just came back to the lineup, takes a holding penalty. Hunter Haight converts on an opportunity from Dean Lucas, 2-1 Spirit. And that was the dagger in the heart, basically. It looked as though they were trying to come back and they were trying to fight, but to no avail. They could not get that tying goal. And Sapovalov, second of the game, empty netter. The Spirit take that one 3-1. It was a disappointing result, but they looked like, for the most part, they played really, really well. That third period, they had a lot of scoring chances. Andrew Oak just played out of his mind. See, this game, I've heard people say in the arena, right, that the Steelheads did not play that well. I completely disagree. I could not disagree more with that statement. And now the reason why I disagree with that statement is because, again, if you saw any of the game, whether you were there in person or you were there watching it on TV, they were playing their hearts out. They had that puck luck, but the difference in this game was just one penalty that cost them and Saginaw's goalie playing out of their minds. It was crazy to witness. It was a good game, but I think that on Friday night, they're in Kingston, and Saturday night, they're in Ottawa. They're going to come out with that fury and that, that hunger. So Friday night, let's look ahead into the next segment of the show where we're going to talk about the road trip coming up, the two games that are on the weekend, because there are two games this weekend. Technically, it was the 3 games this weekend, this week, rather. But there are 2 games this weekend. So the Kingston Frontenacs, which I believe they are in 5th place in the Eastern Conference. Actually, no, they are in 8th place in the Eastern Conference. Looking at the standings right now. So here's how the standings are going. So from bottom to top, so we'll go Kingston in 8th, Oshawa in 7th, Hamilton in 6th, Mississauga in 5th, Peterborough in 4th, Barrie in 3rd, North Bay in 2nd, and Ottawa in 1st. So I've seen a whole bunch of comments about people saying that Kingston has kind of the wheels have fallen off the wagon. They're not doing so well. They became sellers at the trade deadline, right? Similar to Mississauga, they became sellers, but in the Steelheads case, they became retoolers. I don't necessarily think they're rebuilding anymore. Looked like they were going to rebuild, but they just got younger, right? If anything, they retooled and they basically got better chemistry, if anything. So Kingston has been one of those teams, especially this season, that has given Mississauga a hard time. Now, this is no exception to the fact that Shane Wright's already gone. They still have a lot of really, really good names on that team. Matthew Soto, Ivan Zhigulov, Zayd Wisdom is still there. They still have quite a few notable names on that team that you have to watch out for that are going to try and give the Steelheads a hard time. But if you start on time, you use your full physicality that you can, keep your composure, and most importantly, stay tight on the defense, I think without a doubt, without a shadow in my mind, they can beat Kingston. Now, here is the thing. Here's the game that's going to give them a problem. Right? So Kingston's in 8th place. The next night they're in Ottawa, who I don't know if you've been keeping up this season, but have a record of 39-11-4. Yes, 39 wins, by the way. That puts them first place in the Eastern Conference and first place in the league overall. What's a team that's always had Mississauga's number 2? Ottawa. Now, I'm not saying this is going to be an easy or a hard task by any means, but this one's going to be a little bit of a tougher game, right? Because you have Kingston the night before, who is going to be a little tiny bit easier to beat, and then you have Ottawa, who's going to be more of a challenge. So I think Saturday, they just need to be at the top of their game. Solid on defense, right? They need to play tight point on defense, make sure that it's all tightened up, that nobody is out of position, that nobody is turning the puck over too much. Don't take many penalties, and just keep it clean, most of all, because you have two different styles there, right? Ottawa uses their skill, whereas Kingston relies more on their combination of their skill and their physicality. If you can outskill the 67s, right? If you can make sure that your offense is clicking, all 4 offensive lines are clicking, your defense stays tight, and I'm assuming it's probably going to be either Bellieri or Leenders. I would assume maybe Leenders is going to start against Ottawa. Bellieri might get the start in Kingston. I think that you need to just make sure that you're helping him out a little bit, right? Because it's like I said, every game matters, right? This is coming down to the last 14 games of the regular season, and you want to try and get the highest seed possible at this point. So every game matters. Help the goalie out a little bit, keep tight on defense, make sure all 4 offensive lines are rolling, and just keep it clean. That's what I think that they need to do in order to win against Ottawa, especially a team who's been that good this season. So those are the 2 games this weekend that are going to pose a bit of a challenge on the Ottawa side of things, but also could pose a challenge on the Kingston side of things. So if they do those things, and they're able to keep their game going the way that we know they can, they're going to win those games. But regardless, if they get, 2 out of 4 points, that still puts them ahead of Peterborough, because the difference between Mississauga and Peterborough is literally tied. They're tied. They both have 59 points apiece, and it's a significantly higher gap to get from 4th to 3rd, because Barrie has 70, and then Peterborough and Mississauga each have 59. So it's about a 10-point difference. So I think that regardless of how many points they come out of this with, it's going to be a very, very good weekend for games. So we're looking forward to seeing that. And I know I myself will be watching. I'm hoping you are going to watch as well. And this team is going to be extremely, extremely good within the next couple of games. So finally, before we end off the episode, I wanted to introduce a new segment of the show. So in the past, a long, long time ago, when we first started this show, We used to do a player of the week, and I think this time it's a time to bring that back. We are going to officially unveil the Inside the Tank player of the week, and who better in his last 5 or 4 games, he's had 5 points. This week's Inside the Tank player of the week is none other than Xander Vecchia, and he has been incredible. It's like I mentioned, 5 points in 4 games for him, including the overtime winner on Friday night's game this past Friday night. Incredible. And he has been really clicking on that top line with Luke Misa and James Hardy. So Xander Vecchia is your player of the week, your Inside the Tank player of the week. So every week we're going to be unveiling a new player of the week. And this is not always going to be the player who has the highest point totals. This is going to be a player who has demonstrated the best defensive game. Sometimes it's going to be one of the goalies after they've had an impressive performance, whether it's wins, an incredible save, anything like that. It's not always going to be the highest point totals. It's going to be the player who had the best week statistically, analytically, and really who stood out amongst the others. So that is going to be the new segment that we're going to be introducing as well, in addition to the new format. And I'm super, super excited to bring you the next step in the Inside the Tank journey. This video, don't forget to hit that like button, hit the subscribe button, and hit the little bell notification for all future content. Check out our social medias down below as well, and I will see you in the next one.